I'm so excited to be speaking to Elyse Slane, who is the newest cast member of Real Housewives of New York. Just let's get going because a lot of people have questions of, your background, how you got to know the girls, how you got to come on the show. So, Elise, the first night we see you on Real Housewives of New York is when you meet Ramona at the bar, and she really opens up to you and the two other girls about, I just want to be held. I just want someone to hold me. And you're very sweet to her. And we get that there's a history there between you guys. You've been friends a long time. And then you start being invited to all these other events. So how did that all come about? And how long have you been friendly with Ramona?
So I've known Ramona for a couple of decades, but we really only became friends, I'd say, in the last 4 or 5 years. Our daughters were actually very close when they were in junior high school. They were like sisters. And so Ramona and I, for many years, just sort of tolerated one another.
Oh, okay.
And we've been in the same friend group for a very long time, and have some really close mutual girlfriends who kept saying, you two should get to know one another on the next level. So we did, and we really did become very close friends.
So you
She
became
helped me
close friends in the last 5 years, four or
the
five
last
years.
4 or 5 years. Yeah, she helped me pick out my wedding dress, and she helped make my bridal shower, and I've been a consistent friend to her. It's no secret that we had a falling out
So
several months ago.
so that is a secret to me because I didn't really realize it because I'm watching the show, huge fan of the show. And then when I post questions for my fans, what is your question for Elise? They're seeing things on social media that appears that you guys aren't close right now. And I don't want to give any spoilers, but what can you tell us about that you haven't been in touch lately?
I actually, I would tell you if I knew what the problem was. I don't know what the issue was. Ramona just started to freeze me out. If you notice in previous episodes, she's on one side of the table, I'm on the other, and I was just sort of going along with it, and I kept saying, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" But I wasn't really getting any answers, and then she was, from what I understand, talking behind my back, and I confronted her and she ran away from the conversation. So I don't know what happened. And she approached me, I think it was sometime at the end of February. We were at a friend's mother's funeral, and she approached me to have a conversation and try to clear the air. But I wasn't feeling too well, and so did not follow up with it. But I figured sometime over the summer we would see each other and we would talk. But since then, it seems to have gone downhill as far as her continuing to chat without coming to me. I don't know what the problem is. I really don't. If I knew, I would tell you.
Well, I just wonder if it's just because she thought maybe you'd be more of I don't know, more of like her sidekick or something on the show, and maybe she didn't really like that you're speaking up. That's what I'm assuming as someone who's watched the show for whatever years.
Well, I mean, I really do have her back on the show, and even when it went against my grain, I still had her back on the show, and to a point where Dorinda at some point told me I had Stockholm syndrome. Um, so I don't know why she would feel that I betrayed her in any capacity in our friendship at all. I really don't understand it.
I just remember that Dorinda used that before when she thought everybody was kissing Luann's ass too much. She thinks a lot of people have Stockholm syndrome.
Maybe, I mean, I'm definitely not one to kiss someone's ass. I mean, I try to stick with my belief system and do what I think is right. So, as you saw at that dinner on the last time Tinsley is with the whole group, I did not join the ranks of everyone who was ignoring her and downplaying her relationship with Scott. I wanted to celebrate her, and so I did.
So, I mean, that really was very weird to watch and very mean girl. And it was obvious that you were being normal and appropriate and like happy for anybody. We've all been in those situations where your friend has been back and forth, whether it's with a husband or a boyfriend. But as a friend, if they decide that's who they want to be with, you have to be, providing they're not abusive, which he's not, you have to be like, great, I'm glad you got what you want. I'm glad you guys are moving back in together, whatever. It was so, first of all, the whole season was weird to see Dorinda like going after Tinsley. It was very confusing, I think, to an audience.
So I think that Dorinda was hard on Tinsley. I think that a lot of the audience didn't see Tinsley kind of poking the tiger a little bit as well. So I think Dorinda has gotten an incredible amount of hate that is not 100% deserved.
Hmm.
Um, that being said, yes, it was often cringeworthy because when Dorinda loses it, I don't think a lion is a match for Dorinda when she wants to come at you. So let alone Tinsley, who's more like a kitten, right? So, but if you notice when we were at the wine tasting and Dorinda was opening up about her breakup with John and cleaning out Bluestone Manor after the flood and coming to terms with Richard's passing, which she hadn't really done for 7 years. And Tinsley was sort of sitting on the side mocking her. And I just kept thinking, oh, Tinsley, please stop. Like, this is just so not going to go well for you. But people for some reason chose to ignore that. So
I have to say, I kind of missed that. I know the scene you're
yeah,
saying. I don't
but
know if
watch it
maybe,
again,
yeah,
right?
you'd probably have to watch it again, but maybe the editing wasn't as featured on that. But what I mean, so you could hear when Dorinda, this is the one remark that I've literally gotten people writing me about saying it was really hurt them, was you heard when Dorinda said, and maybe Scott can get a turkey baster and get you pregnant, and then tried
I
to high
can't
five.
I can't defend that. That
But you
I
did, but it's like, but at the table, could you hear it or were you too far away? Like, were you like just in shock or
I was in shock.
wow?
Yeah.
It was just so like it just the whole thing was just yeah, very, very
But
bizarre.
yet, truth be told, I feel like if Tinsley right now called Dorinda and needed her advice to something, Dorinda would be there for her. So
Yeah.
that sounds funny to say, but I, I don't understand everything that Dorinda was experiencing and why it was manifesting itself the way it did. But I still believe that Dorinda is a good soul, and I think that she probably, I don't want to speak for her, but I think watching it now, she probably realizes that she was going through a lot at the
Mhm.
time and maybe some of the anger was misdirected.
Yeah, I think so too. I think you're right. With the breakup and with John and everything, maybe it was more than she let on to be. Like, it was great. We had 7 years. It was good, but maybe it was more like
Right. 'Cause how can you really feel that dismissive of a 7-year relationship?
right. I think that's exactly what it was. So I first of all, I didn't know you were a mom. So is that your only child, your daughter that's close to Avery's age?
Yes, she's my one and only.
And how did she feel about you when you called her and said, "Hey, I'm going to be filming some time with the Housewives this season?"
So because she Nicole was actually on the show for Avery's Sweet 16.
Oh, okay. I remember that.
She was when the four girls were in the diner planning Avery's party. So Nicole's familiar with it, and she grew up knowing Avery and Ramona. And I actually gave her veto power over it. So I said to her, if you're uncomfortable with it and you don't want me to do it, it's actually your decision, not mine.
And so
So
she was good?
she was fine. She was fine with it.
And you said that, Ramona was there to help you with your wedding, so that, it was a few years ago, so I assume that was your 2nd.
Not even 2 years ago.
It was what?
Not even, yeah, July 7th will be 2 years.
So you're currently married now?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
it's my second marriage.
Oh, okay, so you're currently married now. Okay, got it. And she's your only daughter. Okay, so now I get the whole story. So now, since you've been friends with Ramona these years, have you experienced the fabulous girlfriend luncheons that my girlfriends give me for my birthday? Like, have you gone to those throughout the years?
Excellent, Ramona. Yes, I'm at 90% of them. We
And
really are in the same friend group.
yeah.
So our falling out definitely is going to it's happened all during quarantine, so it hasn't really been noticed by friends. But it will become noticeable as people start to socialize more.
And so, so right now the show's on like a little 2-week break. And are we going to be able to see a lot? Is there a lot more coming up that you'll be featured on throughout the season that you can just let us know that you're going to be on it?
You'll definitely see more of me.
Hmm.
And I can give you a little teaser in that, if you notice, I'm not a huge drinker. I sort of nurse one glass of wine. But in the Berkshires, these girls definitely get me kicking back the vodkas, and you'll get to meet my alter ego who actually has her own name.
Oh, okay. And so, how do you feel when people are sort of critical of you, being like, "Why is she there?" And obviously, it's like, and I'm kind of like, well, at least that's almost good. It's almost a compliment that you're a normal person that isn't acting crazy, that isn't being obnoxious and drawing attention and the camera to herself. But how do you feel when people what's the reaction you're getting from these people that are sitting at home
So,
and writing you?
so initially, I was definitely getting a lot of hate on Twitter.
Mhm.
I'm new to Twitter and I'm new to Instagram also. So someone had told me to go on Twitter. They said I was trending, and I said, "Really?" So I went on and I was trending with some love, but mostly hate. And I was like, wow, to be famous for people hating you. um, but I think that they turned around actually, because I say I get maybe on average of 100 DMs a day. And 99% of it is people who are very supportive. But I was surprised how much hate I was getting for number one, not being, in the crazy antics. And it is hard to speak with these girls. So obviously, I do have a lot more to say. But when you have all of these extroverts screaming at the same time, it's hard for someone who's relatively calm to have a conversation and say anything. And it seems like when I do pipe up or when they let me, they think I'm being judgmental. And I think that it's sort of not really the right label for me, because I don't think I would call it as it is. If I were judgmental, I'd say, yeah, I was judgmental. Like, I think I made a mistake with Leah in Newport. I think that I was hard on her when she had that meltdown. And I owned it. I apologized to her that day. And then I really embraced her from that point on. So some of the things I was being labeled as judgmental, I don't think were really justified.
Well,
Like when I told,
I sorry, go ahead. What were you saying?
I called Sonia an accessory,
Mhm.
right? It wasn't meant in a negative way. If you listen to what she was saying before I said that, she was saying that her husband used to make her go shopping, force her to buy certain clothes, force her to buy jewelry that she didn't want, and she was embarrassed by it. So if you're embarrassed by outfits your husband wants you to wear, then he's making you an accessory, right? And I went down that road one time as well. So I really wasn't criticizing her. And I've known Sonia a very long time. And I think Sonia is a little powerhouse.
So
But
you
people thought that I was judging her.
so when you say I went down that road once, you mean in past relationships, you felt like you were in a
I
relationship like
dated a
that?
guy Yeah, I dated a guy for 5.5 years who wanted me to dress a certain way, and he was into, I'm very casual. I'm happiest in my jeans, but he wanted me in the Pucci dresses and the Birkin bags, and the big Birkin bags. They're not my style. They're heavy. I don't find them attractive. But I did things for him. So, and one time I said to him, you know what? You accessorize me because I accessorize you,
Right.
right?
When I watched it, I did not get that I got your intention, and I thought the intention was complimentary to Sonia, meaning you're with this guy that saw you as just a pretty piece, and there's so much more to you than that. And so that's in your past, and your future is you being a fully evolved businesswoman and all of that. That's what I got. So,
Exactly. Thank
yeah,
you. I don't know why other people, by and large, didn't get that.
right. And then so going back to, when you said with, let's go through how you know the other people. So with Sonia, like, did you know her back in the day, or for how
I
long
knew
have you
her
known her?
before she was a Morgan.
Oh, you did?
I did, yes. Not as well as I know her now, but I certainly knew her to engage in conversations with her. I used to see her at San Pietro all the time where she used to work. And I always got a kick out of Sonia. She always had this big, bubbly personality. And there were men falling at her feet. So if it wasn't going to be Morgan, it was going to be some other powerhouse guy.
Okay. And, when you go to these ladies' luncheons with this Hampton crowd that is the Ramona other friends, that sometimes they get annoyed that she wants to go see the other friends. Um, does Ramona act differently around that crowd versus the crowd of the Housewives women?
Um, she's she's calmer, I think, around the other crowd.
Mhm.
But she's still very flirtatious. I mean, if, even when she and I would go to dinner, just the two of us, and if I look down for a second and I look back up, I'm sitting by myself at the table, and Ramona's off talking to some cute guy at the bar.
And
So that
does that piss you off like it has the other women back? I remember right when she became single, they were on some trip, and it was, Carol and Bethany, and she went to go start flirting with the owner of the restaurant. And they were all like, she ignored us. And I empathize with Ramona because I'm like, if I was newly single, and because I've been married forever, I mean, it reminded me of when I was in, college and post college, where you're out and you're like, who's the most eligible person here? Let me go meet them. Let me make the night like a little bit of possibly a success. And they perceived it as like, oh, she's being rude. She's out for herself. But I kind of was like, well, if you're single, go for it. But how do you feel about that behavior?
well, she does it in a way where she doesn't bring you into her conversation. So if I'm at dinner with her, it's certainly not fun for me to be sitting by myself.
Okay.
It's something if she wants me to be her wing woman, and that's fine. And I'm certainly no competition because I'm happily married. But if she brought me into the conversation, that would be okay. But just literally abandoning me, where I'm just sort of sitting like single at a restaurant or at a bar, yeah, I don't love that.
So when we see, okay, and then, oh, I know what I want to say. Going back to the Leah thing where you said you also got some criticism. So the next day after her, I really thought the behavior was crazy. First, we saw the night where she took the tiki torches naked. And since they were all kind of naked and running around, whatever, I love it all. I think it's all entertaining. I think all of you guys are interesting and funny to watch. It's my favorite. So, but then when she really was just going crazy at the dinner, and it was kind of funny because Ramona's like, your sister could come. No, you know what? I really don't want your sister to come. You know what? I changed my mind. I have to think outside of the box. Your sister can come. You know what? Why can't I just have a night for myself? You're like, oh my God. Okay. So then
Yeah.
add to the drinking, and she didn't eat, and she's feeling low because the PETA man blew her off. I got it all, but it was like the running around and like the throwing a chair and like Alice in Wonderland. So when you approached her the next day, again, and I'm not just saying this because I'm interviewing you, but I was like, I don't think this is that bad. I've never seen anyone in my life, and I wasn't a sorority, my friends all drink. I've never seen someone act remotely like that. So I think if I did witness it, I don't know if I'd say something, but I wouldn't be critical of my friend who does say something that witnessed it.
Right. Well, so yes, I'd never seen anyone go off the rails like that. But that being said, it happened and nothing was going to change it. And it was not my place to then sort of say, what would you do if your daughter acted that way?
Yeah, maybe that was the part that was like, yeah, that was probably
Right.
the part where, yeah, had you not said that and kept the first part, like, what's going
Right.
on with you? Just checking in, like, that was insane. That would have been one thing. But yeah, then when you ever bring up someone's daughter, then they freak out.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
So that was definitely my bad.
Hmm.
Uh, and I'm sure Leah was already feeling somewhat embarrassed about it the next morning.
Right.
So there was no need to sort of, hey, how are you feeling? Which I wasn't doing it to be like an ass. I really was still a little bit shocked by it. But in hindsight, if I could do it over, I probably would have just seen her in the morning and given her a hug,
Yeah.
and let her know that she's in a safe place. And you know, don't worry about it. Like we're not going to judge you. It happened. It was just us together, and I understand. You wanted your sister, and your sister's coming, and I can't wait to meet her. I think that should have been my approach, as opposed to the way I handled it the next day.
So one of the other things brought up by the Juicy Scoopers that knew I was interviewing you, they said, "Do you think Ramona and some of the OGs, I guess that means the top four girls, Luann, they've all been on long, Luann, Dorinda, and Sonia, are at all threatened by Leah and her sister? Like if she gets her sister in the circle, would could there be like more people from Leah's group, and then it could unbalance the dynamic that we've seen for so long?"
Well, sure. I mean, Leah is almost 30 years younger than Ramona, right?
Mhm.
So as much as Ramona looks good for her age, she's just no competition for a 38-year-old. And then I think Sarah is 32.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, I mean, it definitely ruins the OG's sexy.
So and now this was kind of crazy. So when the episode aired, or right before the episode aired, where you guys are in Newport and it's the second night and you go to the restaurant, and I guess Tinsley had the connection to get the table, so you're all seated, but then they're up at the bar. Ramona's talking to some hot guys, which now we found out the guys, people, he's no prize, the one that was engaged and
Right.
hitting on him and the other guy. And everyone's like being annoyed by it. So then Leah's sister, I guess, tweeted or posted somewhere about Ramona. We all saw you flirting, walking around. How dare you criticize us? You pooped your pants. And Elyse saw it. And you must have seen those. And what is your response to that?
Um,
I can't believe I have to ask it, but I mean, people want to know.
yeah. I can't comment on the poop pants incident, but I understand why Sarah was very upset. They were very rude to her.
Okay.
She was an innocent. She's just coming for a fun, first night away from having a baby and anxious to meet her sister's new friends. And, telling her she was guilty by association or saying she looked like a demon was unacceptable behavior. And I understand that the girls wanted to flirt, but on the heels of lunch didn't go well when they first met Sarah, they were not very warm to her. At one point, which you guys didn't get to see, Ramona and Sonia were hiding underneath the table at the restaurant to not have to be introduced to Sarah. And I like walked over and I was like, "What are you, 5? Like, are you kidding me?" Um, so I think it was more important to keep the peace and sort of have a do-over meeting Sarah and make Leah feel more comfortable than to go meet these guys at the bar in Newport. Like what was that going to do for either one of them, right? And I don't know how much of it was they were still sort of snubbing Leah and Sarah versus their vaginas are like bomb sniffing dogs, but they're penis sniffing pussies. And they're just like, right there to the bar. I don't know which it was, but it wasn't nice.
Well, you had the best line in your post confessional about the evening when you said, "It's like a geriatric Girls Gone Wild." That I think I sent you a message after you said that because I was like, "This is pretty freaking good." And in some ways, that's why I kind of liked it once they all became single. Like, back when Ramona was married to Mario and Luann was married to the Count, it had a very different vibe. And then they all were single, and basically they've been single the whole time because Luann had her marriage, but it was short lived. I mean, yes. So let me speak. How long have you known Luann? Let's talk about your past with
Um,
Luann.
I've been around Luann for years. We also sort of, in some of our circles are similar. So I could think back over 10 years ago, I was at a wedding with her in which she made a scene. So I've seen Luann in action, but I've never been close with her.
And you don't feel that close now?
No, not at all. Luann and I never bonded.
Let me ask you, so when you guys are in this similar friend group, throughout the years, were you an avid watcher of Real Housewives? Was it fun to watch it knowing that you personally met these people?
No, and as you know, I introduced Jill and Bethany to one another, right? So I go way back with Jill and Bethany. And so I did watch the first season, but I stopped watching afterwards because the fighting started to put knots in my stomach. So I really didn't watch it all the other seasons after season one.
Because you introduced Bethany and Jill when they started to have all their issues, you're saying that kind of upset you?
All of the fighting, yeah. I really don't love anger and people, cutting one another down. It's not something I really want to engage in, which is why I guess I'm the boring one on the show.
So where is your relationship with Dorinda now? And did you know her well before?
Yeah, I knew Dorinda back when she was married to Richard. And Dorinda and I are in a good place. We talk, we text, we're fine. And Lee and I are very, very close. Sonia and I will exchange a text or something on Instagram, but we haven't really had a conversation.
So Sonia recently texted something. She said, and tweeted something. She said, "Oh, everybody that lives with me gets married. First it was Luann, now it's Tinsley. Who will be next?" And then a fan wrote, "What about Ramona?" And she goes, "If we can catch her." And people were like, "What does that mean? Like, is that just mean because she's not communicating right now with people?"
And maybe just because she's all over the place.
Oh, okay. And did you know Tom, the famous Tom, Luann's Tom, before?
I knew Tom, and I got to know him better after because he's also friends with friends of mine. So I've been out with Tom. I spent one New Year's Eve actually with Tom after he and Luann broke up.
And when you found out they were getting married and you were acquaintances with them, did you have any thoughts about that?
No, I didn't.
But were you
I'm not close enough with them that I would have given it any thought.
right? Well, so everyone loves your style, and someone asked, "Do you style yourself?"
So, yes, other than in the confessionals, I didn't. Which I feel like I looked a little goth in the confessionals. So I don't think I would repeat that look again.
Oh, really? Why? Because
Yeah.
you mean the black dress and stuff?
Yeah, the black dress and the hair and the makeup was just
Too
very
much.
heavy. I just thought I looked, yeah.
So where do you see the future of your on it? Do you like it? Do you want to become a full housewife? Are you just what's your thoughts on it?
I think it would be difficult, considering where I am with Ramona right now. I think it would be a difficult path for me. And even if Ramona and I were in a great place, I think if they supported one another more and there was less cutting each other down, I'd be more interested in sticking around.
And do we ever get to see your husband on the show?
Not this season, no. But he's been on season 10. He was at dinner when Bethany burned the check, when Tinsley was throwing it back and forth with Sonia. My husband was at that dinner. My husband pops up throughout season 10, like a
Oh,
little bit like
okay.
a Where's Waldo? There you are. There you
And
are.
were you married to him back then?
Season 10, were we married season 10? I think we were just engaged then.
Okay. And well, I think it's fine if you have a problem with Ramona. I still think you can come back because that's what all these shows are. They do have their arguments, and then they come back and they go, "Let's move on," and then we get to see this interesting relationship grow and evolve, and so I don't think it's a
Right.
problem. Me
I think she
personally.
would have a problem with it.
Well, we'll see. I mean, I love the show. I'm sad that you guys are taking a 2-week break, but I'm excited for it to come back because it looks pretty crazy. When they're acting crazy, is that at her birthday party where she's loses her mind
Yes,
and they're like straddling each other?
yes. Well,
Okay,
but all of us were doing it, so I don't know why she got so angry with Leah. I mean, I even jumped in the gangbang, so I
at
don't know
the
why Leah got singled out.
well, it doesn't seem very appropriate for a ladies' luncheon.
Oh, but they were, now I know all the women that were at this. It was a cocktail party, and I know all the women there as well. Nobody was gonna, if everyone was acting so horrified, I just wanted to like hold up a mirror to them, like,
Right.
years gone by kind of a thing. So I mean, we were all just being playful. It was harmless.
Well, I love talking to you. I love you on the show. I like that we have like a real dark-haired beauty on the show. I think it balances it out. And but I think you're really
Well, this
interesting.
quarantine, they're probably all going to be dark haired.
Yeah, really. Or gray, right? Oh my God. Thank God for that spray to do in the roots. Thank you so much. And everybody, where can they follow you? So if they do want to give you a compliment.
Oh, well, thank you. I am on Instagram. What is my Instagram handle? I need to look that up. Let's see. Yeah, it's just Elyse Sling.
Okay. Well, thank you so much.
Terrific.
Thanks
Thanks.
again.
Nice
Sorry
chatting
about
with you.
the
And I hope I
delay.
do
Huh?
see you in person.
Yes, and then absolutely, yeah. See me in person. I'm sure I'll be performing in New York probably in the fall when you guys can open up again.
I look forward to it.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.